Hello, Paul.
Morning, Sonia.
Morning, everybody. It is Paul Boggy. Is that how I pronounce your surname, Paul?
Think of up your nose.
Bogey. Is it Paul Bogey? Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Nick, for introducing me to Paul. Paul, your story is phenomenal, really phenomenal. It's as you I think described yourself, it's a true story of life on drugs in Edinburgh and how you turned it around, and you spectacularly turned your life around. You started smoking heroin at the age of 18 when you arrived on a particular estate in Edinburgh. It was sort of as a consequence, I think, of a sort of emotional consequence of you falling out with friends, right? Tell us about that beginning.
Yeah, so age 18, there was three reasons I believe that I started using heroin. The first one was peer pressure. I always wanted to fit in as a kid, and I was running around with this gang. They started smoking heroin, so I felt that pressure to want to be part of the gang and not be excluded. The second reason was traumatic events that had happened through my childhood.
Yeah.
When I realised that I started using heroin, that all those sort of feelings and emotions and memories disappeared. And then the third one was I had a huge argument with my mum, and I was angry on the day that I actually finally took heroin for the first time. I was hugely angry. I think we'd had an argument about car insurance for my car. And so those three things, I believe, were the reasons why I started taking heroin in the first place.
Right.
And
you were a high functioning user, weren't you? As you said yourself, you weren't stereotypical, and it hadn't taken a toll on your body. You were still working. So, I mean, you also ran up £16,000 in debt. How did you manage to fund your habit?
So initially, for the first 2 years, I was working full time.
Wow.
So, I'm getting up every morning, putting a shirt and tie on and stuff, and going to work and coping, shall we say. I wasn't very good at my job because obviously I was distracted by the heroin that was in my sock. It was a constant distraction, and but I was functioning. I was going. Nobody really knew about my heroin addiction. Certainly, family didn't know. And what that done was, because I'm getting a wage slip every month, Sonia, I'm able to go to Wonga Loan and say, can I borrow £2,000? And they say, well, you need to prove, that you're earning a wage. So I would give them the wage slips and they say, yeah, you're all good. There's the money. Then I would go to another loan company, same wage slip, and give me money. And that was really at the start. That was how I funded the addiction.
Right. And it was a police bust, wasn't it, that led to you not being able to buy heroin for 8 hours. How did those 8 hours impact you?
I think way back at the start, I genuinely was very naive in the fact, so were we all actually, Sonia, we didn't believe we were going to get addicted.
Huh, gosh.
Our education as kids was a picture of a needle, a spoon, a belt, and this brown liquid on the spoon, and they were burning it. That was the poster that was seen. Heroin is bad, heroin kills, and that was the extent of our education. So when I came across heroin, and it was tin foil and a silver tube, and people were smoking it, I'm very naive, as were we all, that we're not really in any danger. We can't become addicted. The realization was when there was a drug bust, and all the police swarmed into the area, all the heroin dealers went underground. There was no way for us to source heroin. And that was the first realization, that all those months of us smoking the heroin every day and every night, and being able to source it every day and every night, we'd built up an addiction to the drug. And then when we couldn't get it and the cold turkey would set in, that was sort of the scary moment for us all, when I think we realised that we'd done something really silly.
Right. That was your moment of realization, right? And I think you talk about looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, don't ever ask for heroin again because you're not getting it. And that was it.
Yeah, and I know it seems hard to believe. So I just passed 18 years of heroin on Saturday, 18 years. And, you know, and the two questions that people always want to ask me over the last 2 years since I've been on social media, the two main questions are how and why. You know, why I started taking drugs, how I managed to stop, and how I took drugs. So it's always how and why. And I attended a course about my mind. And after that course, 18 years ago, I woke up in the morning, I had methadone on the table, I had codeine on the table, tramadol on the table, cannabis, and I had had heroin the night before. And I woke up 18 years ago and I had enough. I was tired of that life. You know, I was preparing to die all the time. Just my whole life had crumbled. And because I'd learned about my mind, about the power of the mind, about the actual who makes a change. It's actually up for me to make the change in my life, no for the doctors or my mum and dad, right. You know. So it was up to me, and this is what they taught me. So the morning I woke up, I had a big, huge fireplace. I put my nose on the fire, on the fireplace. I burned my face. I put my nose on the mirror, and I looked straight into my eyes. I felt something was very different that morning, and I said, "Don't effing ask for heroin ever again." I was much more aggressive, Sonia, than that, right?
Well, but sometimes you have to be with yourself because that's what you were doing. You were like snapping yourself out of a daze, weren't you? You were saying, it's not going any further after this. That's it. It's done.
And it was strange because, you know, from that moment in the mirror, as strange as this is going to sound, and I've proved it by being 18 years, no relapses,
Phenomenal.
Not even nothing. It was an instant thing in the mirror. Don't ever ask for heroin ever again because you're never getting it. And straight away in that moment, I knew, and it's strange, but I knew I was never touching that drug for the rest of my life. Now, I'd relapsed 13 times.
That's right, you had.
You know, I'm promising my mum and dad all these times, I promise I'll stop. On this 14th attempt, the final attempt, it was strange because I couldn't tell anyone because they'd heard it all before. So I locked myself away in my flat, you know, and I went through the whole cold turkey and no be mail and stuff, the physical problems. Oof. But what I found was that, again, this is going to sound strange. The times before, physically I'm in turmoil, but I'm also mentally in turmoil. On the 14th attempt, when I'm realizing it's a choice, I realize all I've got to do is get me through this physical stage, you know, but mentally, instantly from that moment in the mirror, I've got a life again. I've got a future. I can achieve anything in life. And then, you know, I'm looking in the mirror at this 8-stone guy, black circles, grey face, you know, skin and bones, skeleton. I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, I can achieve anything in life that I want. I just need to put the work in. So cold turkey is horrible for anyone.
Of course,
you know,
it is.
Going through that step. And it was strange because I remember sitting there with all the drugs on the table. I left them there, all the methadone and codeine, I left them all there, knowing full well they could make me feel better. Right. And I've done it on purpose to prove a point to myself, right? Because I've got this. So I started dreaming. I'm going to get a car again. I'm going to get a job. You know, I'm going to be able to build relationships back up with my family. I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to, and in my mind, I was just starting to dream and think, you know, I'm not going to die. I am going to be able to change. I am going to be able to go on and do things in life that I never believed were ever going to be possible.
Well, let's talk about that change. By the age, so you then got a job in Morrison's. You then applied to join the Scots Guards at the age of 30. And within 6 months of joining the army, you're guarding Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
That's quite a turnaround, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. It's like, you know, and that's testimony to my mindset back then, you know, when, like I just mentioned about having that belief in the mirror. you know, it's all it's very well for people to talk the talk. It's another thing, walking the walk. And I proved that I actually walked the walk there. You know, I applied to become a guardsman. I'd done all the basic training, which was hell on earth as well, physically and mentally, but I'd done it. And then, you know, before I know it, I'm down in London. Like you say, I'm standing outside Buckingham Palace, presenting arms to the Queen as she's leaving and stuff. And it's like, it's just a strange, I mean, that's a great thing for anybody to do.
It's
to be
a massive turnaround, but your drama wasn't over. You then headed off to an Afghan tour and you broke your back. You were discharged, given prescription painkillers, which you then became addicted to, didn't you? Because I'm an addictive character as well, Paul. I understand, I get it. Right. So, but then you started to write a book with all the proceeds going to homeless, because you had been helped by a homeless charity, hadn't you? I mean, during your heroin period, you slept in stairwells and done all manner of things that people do because you were just so focused on getting your next hit. Nothing else mattered, presumably.
Yeah. And I broke my back and crushed my spine 2 months before my first tour to Afghanistan. So, it was 2 months prior to me going on my first tour.
Right.
When I go to the military doctors, they know about my heroin and they know about my heroin past. You know, and we discuss it. Paul, we're going to give you a prescription for opiate medication. And I say, look, ma'am, I'm in a much different place now than what I was back then. I'll be okay. I'll cope with it. So, you know, I'm still serving. I'm still in the Scots Guards. I'm still down in Catterick. And when I start taking these drugs again, they're addictive, these opiate medications. And that's what people don't want me to say, you know, but it's true. These drugs are addictive.
Yeah.
So I end up back on the drugs. On 2015, when I get medically discharged and sent home to Edinburgh, I'm broken. Physically, but mentally more so, because my dream was to go on this first tour with all my friends that I went through basic training with, and I'd been taught how to be this professional soldier, and I never got to put it into practice.
Right.
And it was
got you.
My army friends walked away from the car crash, and I was the one left sitting in the car with a broken back and the crushed spine, and it was like,
I mean, that is like serious sod's law. You were literally on your way to a training camp in England, which would then have taken you off on that tour. But you weren't meant to go, Paul. You clearly weren't meant to go. I'm very philosophical about these sort of things. Now, I should just say, we do have a copy of Paul's book, Heroin to Hero, to give away. And there it is. And I haven't read it myself yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I've sort of read lots of the outline of it. And so the first person to write to info@brandnewtube.com and put in the subject matter, Heroin to Hero, put your name, and the first person who we receive at the email will receive a copy of Paul's book, which I will personally send off to you. Paul, people are saying, is he speaking in schools? You are, aren't you?
Yeah. And this was something that was never planned, you know. Like you said there, that copy of the book will be signed as well, folks, as will Sonia's. But so just writing the book, it was like, you know, I wanted to help. I have this feeling that I just wanted to help. So I thought, well, you know, all these homeless people in Scotland, you know, that are dying because of hypothermia every year and stuff. So I thought I'll donate all the money from that. Then I took to social media, sharing my story. And then initially it was the prison service. You know, I've been in 3 prisons. I've been in 3 prisons across Scotland, and I've been invited in more. So I was going into the prisons and speaking to the inmates about addiction and about mental health, about my time in the mirror, how I managed to turn my life around, talk about the book and things like that. And it went down really, really well. I got amazing feedback from the Scottish Prison Service. And then on social media, you know, a teacher seen my post on Facebook about visiting prisons and said, how would you feel about coming in and talking to the kids?
Brilliant.
And I was like, you know, inmates fine. No drama, no anxiety.
Right.
Kids, oh, wait a minute, right? There's a different, they're a different kettle of fish because they don't have any filter. So, but of course I'm going to do it. You know, it's prevention is better than cure.
100%. 100%. You're so inspiring, Paul. I absolutely love it. They find your energy remarkable in the chat, I should say. And oh, wait, are you an actor? Because Freckles here saying, I think I met him through the drama I was in on BBC.
No, I'm not an actor. Well, I've actually, Sonia, right? Title, so I'm a proud author, of course, and I'm a veteran. One of my friends asked me to be in a film that's going to be released this year, last year, but it's a very small part. I play a German soldier and I don't speak, but technically I am an actor now. And I'm a script writer because I've just co-wrote the heroine to hero play for Edinburgh Fringe.
Right. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, you literally have turned your life around. And it's, you know, the thing, I'm way past judging in my life. I've experienced enough of life to know that shit happens, frankly. And but it's what you make of it, isn't it, Paul? I mean, it really is absolutely what you make of it. I hate to let you go. I really wish I didn't have to, but give us a parting word to sort of move people forward who may at this moment in time be caught in an addiction.
Asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom.
That's exactly it, isn't it? Chris says you're quite a guy. And Heroine to Hero is a great title. We will have a winner by the end of this show. Thank you so much, Paul Bogey, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Love what you do. It is so important and so powerful. And again, thanks for Nick for getting this organised. Really very much enjoyed having Paul on this morning. Take good care of yourself, mate. And we will put a link to Heroine to Hero in the description, and we will make sure that our winner gets your copy. Thank you for joining us this morning, Paul. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Take care. Love it. Story of redemption. Who can mess with that?